Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board meeting for Wednesday, April 10th, 2024 in the Great Hall at 26 Court Street. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29th, 2023. This meeting will be conducted via remote and in-person participation. Specific information and general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. First on our agenda this evening, we have administrative notes. We have 4 sets of minutes. February 14th, 2024, we'll start with. Questions and comments on February 14th minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the February 14th, 2024, and a second. All in favor, Dave?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next, we have the minutes of February 28th, 2024. Questions, comments, corrections?
One minor correction, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, please.
At the bottom of page 1, one of the last sentences says, "It will help buy down affordability in perpetuity and allow the project to financeable." So I think we need to insert the word "be financeable" for construction.
Okay. With that correction, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for February 28th, 2024's minutes. All in favor, Carl? Steve?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next, we have the minutes of March 13th, 2024. Questions, comments, and/or corrections?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have one spelling and one additional sentence that needs to be put in. Toward the bottom of page 2 of 4, right after the number 70%, it is not compacity, it's capacity. There's an extraneous M in there. But the principal thing is, in our discussion of the Chilton Street project, I said I would, as a condition of my approval, is adding a condition that the board recommends additional parking be procured.
So what is the wording you wanted to say?
As a condition, David Peck suggested adding a condition that the applicant is encouraged to achieve more parking, off-site parking.
It was a recommendation to the Advisory and Finance Committee,
No.
to zoning, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm thinking about town meeting.
Yeah.
Still at town meeting.
So do you recall
for their
that, Lee?
recommendation.
I mean, so, yeah, it's just not in the minutes. So if we
Okay.
could add that sentence.
Okay, with that adjustment to the minutes, entertain a motion.
I move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the March 13th, 2024 minutes. All in favor, Steve?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next, we have the minutes of March 27th, 2024. Questions, comments, and/or corrections?
They look fine. I move approval as submitted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on the March 27th, 2024 minutes. All in favor? Carl?
Abstain?
Steve?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next on our agenda this evening, we have covenants, plans, and releases. B, 359 T&T Realty Trust, release of lots 25E-9, 26 Arrow Park Drive. Questions and comments on B359? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second on B359. All in favor? Carl?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next, we have B437, Thomas F. Wallace, doing business as Wallace Associates, release of Lot 11-756, Long Ridge Road. Questions or comments on B437? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
We have a motion and a second on B437. All in favor, Dave?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next on our agenda, we have Form A plans. We have A4875, Pine Hills LLC, map 78B, lots A-303, A-309, S-246, and S-248. Divide to create lots 11-756, S-293 through S-299. Question, comments on A4875?
Yes, I've got a question to Lee. Why the unusual shape of 11-756?
Is that the larger lot?
Yeah, it's
Which one? Can you point to it? Yeah, so that's just a large, single-family lot. So there's a buyer out there who is not doing anything unusual as far as the three-bedroom, limited occupancy required, but they wanted a larger lot. So this is a lot for one house. All the other lots shown here are just open spaces, a little trade between providing open space to each neighborhood versus having it held in common by all the Pine Hills. But that one large lot is a single-family house.
Okay, thank you, because it was an unusual shape.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you.
And size for the Pine Hills, too.
Thank you, Dave.
So with that answer, I move approval of A4875.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on A4875. All in favor, Steve?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Next, we have Form A Plan A4876, Nick Rivers, map 024, lots 4B-5 and 23B-2, the lot line adjustment. Comments or questions on A4876?
I'm the question person this evening. Just, again, Lee, could you explain what the purpose of this is? I know the property, but...
Sure, and so the applicant's engineer is here, too, if you have any questions. So we included the previous plan that was created. Yes. And basically what happens here is that you have a non-conforming multifamily unit building in the front on Sandwich Street. And then you have these other two buildings in the back, single-family homes. And so the plan that was originally drafted up had that larger piece in the rear behind the multifamily. And there's a tennis court there too, so I think they want to preserve some of the features that are already on the site. So what they've done is taken some of that land to the rear so that that lot still has the same area that it has now, it will have in the end. It's just a very odd and unusual configuration. So in the end, you have a multifamily nonconformity, two dwellings at the beginning, and at the end you have that same thing. The lot line adjustment merely is an acre per acre, square foot per square foot swap of a different location of land.
Okay. It is an extremely unusual parcel.
And it's unusual to begin with. I've spent probably more time on this parcel working with family members and property owners trying to figure out how to best deal with all the nonconformities out here. It is probably the most unusual site I've dealt with in a long time.
Okay. Thank you.
With that, would you like to make a motion?
That, yes. I move approval of A4876.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on A4876, Nick Rivers. All in favor, David?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Form A Plan A4877, 4877 Richard Quintal, map 32, lots 25-1 and 26B, lot line adjustment. Questions, comments? Dave?
Not this time, thank you.
I would, yeah, and I would just point out, this is really the exact same plan that the board previously did. It's just that the parcel that's being added to the piece, you can see that there's that little Z thing showing that it's in common ownership with the piece across the street. It's the same thing you endorsed before, it's just shown differently. So parcel A.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
I move approval of 4877.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve A4877. All in favor? Carl?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And myself? Yes. Next on our agenda this evening, we have ZBA case 4122. Sean D'Ambrosia, 128 Summer Street. Special permit required per section 203-2, B period 2 period D period 2 period B, to waive development site boundary and per section 205-5, R20SL, dimensional table required side setback to construct a retaining wall parking area. Do you want to go to staff first, Lee, or would you like to go to the proponent? Yes, sir, please.
Good evening, Kevin Grady from Grady Consulting, representing Sean D'Ambrosia for the special permit application at 128 Summer Street.
Sir, I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone a little closer.
I tried to, and I thought I was going to break it. There we go. So the site is at 128 Summer Street. It contains approximately 9,000 square feet. The house was built in approximately 1835. The purpose for the application is really to improve parking situation at the property. The existing parking lot is approximately 14 feet by 15 feet, and it's possible to get 2 cars in there. But what you need to do is either back in from the street or back out into the street. The owner of the property happens to be a site contractor, drives a pretty good-sized pickup truck for work, and it takes up a lot of space. In this instance, what they'd like to do is relocate the parking to the rear. By doing so, they'll be able to turn around in the rear of the property and pull out forward, so your eyes are closer to the street and you might be able to see out and around. It will also improve the sight distance for the abutting lot at 132, because when the owners of 128 are parked in their current parking space, the neighbors can't see through their cars to see the oncoming traffic. So the applicant, again, is a site contractor, has the ability to construct this thing in his backyard to be able to turn around and make the access much more safe. In order to accomplish this, the applicant needs to construct some retaining walls to create a parking area in the rear. The property slopes from approximately elevation 74 in the front. If you go all the way down to the town brook, it's elevation 36. In the area they're looking to work, it basically slopes from 74 to 53, approximately 20 feet. So we need to build some pretty good retaining walls in order to accommodate a parking lot. So we prepared site plans. We went to Conservation Commission and got an order of conditions, and then we approached the zoning, what do you guys call them? The building department, and we applied for a zoning permit, and they indicated that in order to construct this, we need a special permit from section 203-2.B.2.A and B. Development site boundary, allowed only by special permit. And basically this talks about where the elevation of a budding lot is lower than that of the development site. A slope or terrace greater than 2 to 1 is prohibited within 25 feet of such line, or where the elevation of a budding lot is higher than that of the development site. A slope or terrace that exceeds 5 vertical feet or 2 to 1 slope is prohibited within 10 feet of the lot line. Again, except as allowed by a special permit. We've laid out in our brief how we think the proposal meets the standards of the special permit. As you know, the special permit shall be issued only for uses which are in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw, and shall be subject to general specific provisions set therein. Special permit may be granted within the reasonable discretion of the special permit granting authority for certain uses, structures, and dimensional variation. I believe you guys are advisory to the ZBA in this instance,
That is correct.
so I'm practicing my presentation with you first. So, special permit granting authority has the authority to grant a special permit if we meet certain standards for the special permit. We've laid them out. I'll go through them real quick, but one, the proposed use is consistent with the purpose and intent of the district in which the subject land is located. It's in the R20 SL district. The use is residential. Not sure if they mean a retaining wall in that instance, but I'm certain there's retaining walls in this area because the site slopes dramatically from Summer Street down to Town Brook. Two, adequate facilities will be provided for safe and harmonious exercise of the special permit or use. It's a residential use. It's allowed within the district. The applicant's proposing to improve a parking facility that's currently dangerous. The proposed increase in parking spaces, maneuverability, will improve safety substantially. C, no hazard to pedestrian or vehicles will be created. I've indicated just the opposite of that. I think we are improving that. When you pull out going forward, you can see people on a sidewalk, you can see oncoming traffic. No nuisance or adverse effect to the neighborhood will be created. Again, as far as safety goes, I believe we're improving that. We've also, as I indicated, we've received approval from the Conservation Commission. We've been before them. We've also had reviews from various departments, including the engineering department. We have included stormwater analysis for this parking lot. Basically, the stormwater, we're going to pave the rear yard with proposed catch basins and subsurface infiltration system below the parking area. So we're not increasing runoff from the site. We're actually going to take it and infiltrate it. And then we're not changing the grades along the lot lines. So we're not going to increase runoff or have any siltation of the abutting properties. I think, and I guess that's it. I'll be happy to take any questions if you have them.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Lee. Anything you'd like to add, Lee?
Yes, thank you. So this is a two-family dwelling, so that's why there's a little more parking than what you may normally see. So it's not a single-family dwelling, it's a two-family dwelling. And normally, I think if we saw a proposal like this, we'd be looking at it from a staff standpoint and trying to figure out if there are any other alternatives to creating this kind of retaining wall setup. However, as you see on the site plan, it is a very dangerous situation to be pulling in and backing out onto Summer Street. Summer Street's a heavily traveled road. There's a lot of traffic here. So it's a very dangerous situation the way the cars are set now. And there are a few of the houses on the street that have that same setup. And again, I think it's something that is a dangerous situation for the homeowners and other people traveling on Summer Street. So again, as I look at this, it's not something we would look at normally as a staff level and say, this is acceptable, but I think given this situation, it's something that I think is necessary from a safety standpoint. The only reason they're before the ZBA is for the retaining wall that's over 15 feet high. I think this is one of the first times we've ever seen a special permit just for the retaining wall, not for some other end use. And the Conservation Commission, which would be my biggest concern because this is close to Town Brook, has signed off on it and said it's acceptable. So again, I think primarily for those safety reasons, we're recommending that the board recommend favorably to the CBA. Number of conditions raised by the town engineer, and again, they've agreed to address all those concerns. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. I am going to go to the audience first. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak? Seeing no one, is there anybody on Zoom? Lee?
I'm not seeing anyone looking to be recognized on Zoom.
Okay, I will bring it back to the board. Mr. Peck?
Yes, I've got several planned, more kind of questions. First is there a fence around this area? I saw it's in the details, but, you know, I had trouble looking at the tiny print on the thing I had, so I think it should be noted. Again, it's in the details, but I couldn't find it on the drawing itself.
We have proposed the fence, and I believe we have it buried in the narrative, and I probably couldn't find it for you right now, but I know we're proposing a black chain link
Well,
fence.
as I said, I saw it. The second thing is, should there be a curb or a lip, you know, on the retaining wall just to keep the water from flowing over? I mean, I see you've got the inverted, you know, to collect it, but I think water might run over unless it's kind of projecting up an inch or two, or it's just something.
I agree. I reviewed this with one of the conditions was that we have a structural engineer look at it, and I took a look at it today. The Stone Strong does have a lip on it, but I'm going to add a 6-inch berm to really
just something to
show
catch the
that.
water.
Yep, I agree.
What happens to snow? You know, and
I'm not there when he plows. They're going to have a lot more room than they used to. There is room to store the snow in the corner here and get a few cars in. They will have a fence around the perimeter, so it'll be hard for them to plow it off without destroying their fence. I think they'll have to take it off the site when if we get some big storms and they need to make space. There are catch basins on the pavement, so when it starts to melt, it will go through the stormwater system.
And roof drainage, you know, is there? I don't know where the gable roof is, but if there's a gutter in the back, you know, that ideally would connect into the underground drainage. But if it drains with, you know, some kind of little collector, it would go onto the pavement.
We are showing roof drains connected in the back two corners. I'm not sure if we can.
Okay, yep, I see it. And a final thing is, since the narrative talks about the dangers of backing into the road, I'm not sure you want to have one retained parking spot next to the house. When this gets approved, I'll be an optimist. You've got ample maneuvering area in the parking area, so I think you should take that note off, because I don't want a single car parking there and then backing in.
We can do that.
And a final thing for ZBA, since I was once on ZBA, they like full-size plans, not little plans. So I don't know, Lee, if, for the ZBA package, they will be full-size, or at least bigger than this. I can make this out, but I know more than one ZBA member likes larger plans.
Well, we're happy to print them. We overpaid for our printer, so we can print them for ZBA.
Okay. Those are my questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Carl? Please.
So I just have two questions. One was in regards to the fence. The chain link fence, is it going to be, also have like the slits in it for obstructing view, or just, it's going to be clear through, or?
We had
What was
proposed,
that?
we had proposed a clear black chain link fence. We did not propose any slats or barrier.
And that's going to be in the back?
Correct.
Correct. All right. And as far as when the retaining wall gets put in, there's not going to be any cost for any dirt removal from the site, correct? Or
I would say topsoil and subsoil. It would probably be stockpiled, probably not on the site, but I'm not sure where they would stockpile it, because we need to get a connection to the structural subsoil. We got to take the organic stuff out. That'll be it. Everything else is fill.
All right, and then the parking, I didn't see, or I might have missed it. I probably missed it more than I didn't see it. The surface of the parking lot in the back, is it going to be paved, or is it dirt, asphalt? What is going to be the surface
We're
of the parking
proposing-
space? Is it?
Yep, sorry, we're proposing to pave that.
Okay.
Yeah, proposed edge of pavement.
And so the vehicle, you said he's in construction, he has construction vehicles, correct?
Correct.
And some of those vehicles will be parked at that site, or?
Just as pickup truck, not any 10-wheelers or anything like that, just as personal back and forth to work truck. But during construction, yes, there'll be 10-wheelers.
Yeah, I'm just
and,
worried
excavator.
about with a construction truck and the type of contaminants that are gonna hit the pavement, if it's gonna run
Yeah.
off into the river. That's
Sure.
my only
So
issue.
we proposed a construction entrance, basically crushed stone, which will take up some of the silt off the tires, et cetera, during construction. We've also proposed a erosion control as a red line around the perimeter of the work. I believe, yeah, it's a silt sock. It's a detail on the second sheet, so there'll be a 12-inch compost silt sock around the perimeter of the project. Along the side lot lines, as well as the down gradient. So the side lot lines to protect the neighbors, the down gradient to protect the resource area.
That was gonna be my next question in regards to the neighbors with those homes being so close. Okay, thank you. You answered all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I note from the existing conditions to proposed conditions, the tree line being pushed back quite a bit, obviously necessary to create the driveway entrance. Is there a planting plan to replant or to further screen, or actually, given the hill there, even stabilize the hill?
So the existing tree line is back behind, the sheds, is the existing tree line. The lot is primarily cleared. We are proposing to trim the trees along the right-hand lot line. Those won't be replaced or can't be replaced because of the structures we're putting in. In the rear, it's probably loam and seed for lawn up to the existing brush line there, existing tree line. So that existing tree line is right behind the sheds, and it follows the 50-foot no build to zone, the blue line there, pretty much. So we're not, I think if we're removing any trees, it's just a few along the right-hand property line.
And have you received any comments back from the neighbor who's adjacent there? I see the existing dwelling next door.
I have not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Rosemarie, do you have anything?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, I do not.
Okay. All right, let me see here. I'm going to go over a couple of things that were mentioned by all the members so far, which would be the fence was going to be clear, black vinyl coated, I'm assuming,
Correct.
the snow storage, the lip on top of the retaining wall so that the water will not run off the top of that retaining wall was mentioned, and the construction entrance. You had mentioned you're going to make sure there is one for this, the work that's going to be ongoing. So I would ask the question where it says, and David had already brought it up, on the one retained parking spot. So currently, before any construction happens here, does somebody park in that spot currently?
Can't read that plan either.
I know I have to blow it up because, as David said, I have it on a computer, so it's two separate plans, but it's on the same plan.
I'm missing where it says retain the,
It's on the second section just above street, on Summer Street, just to the right by about 25
it out?
degrees. It says one retained parking spot, existing pavers driveway.
So it looks like this revised plan, which is newer than ours, it doesn't have it on. It's removed from the revised plan.
So there is no current parking spot there, correct?
Yeah, so that's removed.
yeah, so currently that's where they park. But the intention is not to have people park there. The intention is to park in the rear.
So that will be removed and you'll create some landscaping effect or something in that location. That's a driveway?
That's the access
Yeah.
aisle.
Okay.
That's how we need to access it.
I would definitely try to augment whatever landscape. Is there a landscaping plan attached to this? No? It's just a wall we're looking at, I understand. But just maybe we could suggest. Oh. My mic's not on? Oh.
Sorry.
You got in trouble.
Yep.
All right, so those were some of my concerns. I would definitely love to see some type of landscaping happening throughout the project. It would help, even though we're only discussing the retaining wall.
Right.
And again, you had mentioned that it is going to be sent to a structural engineer for review
Yes.
as far as your drainage. You have it on the plan in like an alternate position, two different places on your actual drainage for that particular bottom of the wall, correct? It shows two separate locations. One would be the alternate, probably based on the engineer looking at the plan.
I'm not sure what the alternate position is you're referring to.
All right, I know I saw it on here.
So we probably
Right.
do have a revised plan from April 8th in response to engineering department comments. They were coming in fast and furious before the hearing. We've relocated the underground chambers away from the retaining wall. We'll put it more in the middle of the lot. So that's where the chambers are gonna go. And then we have a catch basin and a drain manhole to route the water to that. The issue being that the pressure from the water in that system was too close to the retaining wall. So we've moved it 11 feet basically from the retaining wall in two directions, so it's pretty much in the middle. And then there's an overflow that goes down the hill
No.
Okay?
in the event of, huge storms or failure.
All right, so the zoning's going to want to see a stamp plan on that retaining wall, more than likely.
And building department will require, it.
Yes.
It's part of the it requires a building permit, so.
All
In
right.
addition to the special permit, they'll need to file a building permit with that plan.
Okay,
Agreed.
those were my questions. Anybody have anything else?
I would just say, should we approve this evening, I would add a condition to recommend adding landscaping at the foot of the retaining wall and along the south side, I assume it's the south side, of the access. Because by removing the retained parking space you've got space for a driveway and some landscaping along the side. So if we just add a condition about we recommend adding landscaping at the foot of the wall and along the south side of the access to the parking, would improve this project.
So we talking about up near the existing house? Is that, I'm not sure if I follow.
I was thinking, you know,
That's what he's saying.
was lining up with the retaining wall so that you put some bushes or something along the side.
So there'll be a couple of small,
It's technically the north side, by the
Oh,
way.
it's that north?
Yes.
Okay, well, oh, you're right. No, it's the west side. If north is down.
See the arrow? Down?
It's the west side of the access drive.
okay. I think we have two potential small landscape areas
Right.
on either side of the driveway. And it'll have to be low, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah,
sure he's investing in his property here. I'm sure he'll be happy to do some landscaping, so
No,
please condition.
We're going to send an advisory report requesting some landscaping be done at that,
Okay,
if the board so chooses to do that.
sounds good.
That's what I'm hearing right now. So, okay, if there are no other comments, I will entertain a motion.
I move approval of CBA case 4122 with the additional condition as discussed.
And that would be a 6-inch berm installed along the perimeter of the parking area, as well as the additional landscaping along the rear retaining wall, the foot of the rear retaining wall on the west side of the parking area.
Yeah, it could be on both sides of the access drive, as people were talking, which would really preclude it from being...
Augment the plan with more landscaping, please. The other thing would add to your motion, I think, David, would be the washout construction entrance area coming in and off the site, which you discussed, right?
Correct. We're proposing a standard construction entrance that you'd see.
Yeah, absolutely. So Lee, could you read those back, please, for the members?
Okay, 6-inch berm to be installed along the perimeter of the parking area, additional landscaping along the foot of the retaining wall, the rear retaining wall, as well as adding additional landscaping on both sides of the driveway entrance.
Okay, and meet all the requirements from engineering and everything else that's in the report.
Yep.
Yeah, the thing would be good is by having landscaping on both sides, then nobody's going to use it to back out. I mean, it's going to be the access in and out.
Yeah.
So it not only gets better, but it precludes backing out.
I just want to clarify on the landscape we're talking about around the entrance up near Summer Street and also facing 132. It's not necessarily all the way behind the wall where nobody would ever see that plant and it wouldn't see any sunlight. So I think that's behind the wall down facing Town Brook. I think that's best off being, you know.
I would say
maintained
just
along.
put on your plan landscaping that works, talk to a landscape designer, and
The
put
way
the
I
landscaping in.
The way I worded it was on both sides of the driveway entrance.
Yeah.
Okay. I just
All
want
right.
to clarify. Just,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay, anything else from the board members? Anything? Okay, is that a motion, David?
That's a motion, as it's kind of finessed a little bit, but yes,
Okay.
that's my motion.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to recommend approval to the zoning board of appeals based on the report from staff and the comments that you received this evening that will be added to the report that goes to the zoning board of appeals. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? David?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Carl?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Good luck at the zoning board of appeals, sir.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, next on our agenda this evening, we have ZBA case 2946, Christopher York, Energy North Group, 2 Commerce Way. Informal hearing to address conditions 8 and 20 to build a retail motor fuel outlet car wash, convenience store, and drive-through coffee shop. Good evening, how are you?
Hey, I'm well, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. Kind of loud, huh? Nice to see everyone. Rob D'Ambroso for the record, D'Ambroso Law here in Plymouth on behalf of Energy North Group presenting tonight. Let's see, I think I've got a PowerPoint. If Lee would kindly pull that up, but while he's loading that up, the project here is at 2 Commerce Way. It's a there we go. Am I good? Okay. So I'm here on behalf of Energy North Group. Through its subsidiary Hafner's, Energy North operates about 71 gas stations in New Hampshire, Mass, and southern Maine. It also has a large heating oil and propane distribution operation. The proposal tonight is for a project in the General Commercial District, part of the Cranberry Crescent plan development for a gas station, convenience store with coffee shop and car wash. So Mike Tierney is the director of real estate for Energy North. I don't know that I saw him on the Zoom, but he may join us. Obviously introduced myself. I've also got Chris York from GPI, the project engineer, and Rebecca Brown from GPI is with us as well tonight. I'd like to reserve a little time after I finish my remarks to turn it over to them if I could. Oops. So, as I mentioned, the use is a proposed gas station, with some ancillary services, a convenience store. This site was permitted, in 1999. So this is part of the master permit that was issued for the planned shopping center that's known as Cranberry Crescent. In fact, I was before you guys probably 2 years ago for the Cape Cod 5 building that's right in that neck of the woods. Very similar process. So that special permit issued in 99, it contemplated a variety of uses and a build-out of the site over time, subject to returning to the ZBA informally to present the more specific plans for the building once those plans existed. So that's why we're here tonight. You guys, again, are advisory to the ZBA, so we'll be hitting the ZBA before this is through. Just to refresh your memory, I know you have it in your materials, but that existing special permit that we're operating under sets forth the following criteria. Again, effectively, the ZBA wanted the end users or their representatives to return to the board to demonstrate what's going to go on the site, talk about the use, the layout, the style, landscaping, parking, lighting, again, all these criteria that you can see here. And to that end, my client, I'm a bit late to the party, but they got this process started, filed their plan set. We have DPW comments, which we intend to satisfy, and all those conditions are acceptable. They've been through West Plymouth steering. West Plymouth did express some comments that we'll speak to tonight. And I think DPW is probably the last hurdle for us to surpass as far as we're aware, most significantly of which is conducting a traffic study that's going to take some time. But let me get into the proposal here. So the site itself, the lot is just shy of 2 1/3 acres. It's a vacant, cleared site right now. There's going to be 2 structures on the site apart from the canopy over which the gas station pumps. There will be a 3,200 square foot, 1-story convenience store with a drive-through coffee shop, and then there will be a separate structure which is a kind of a tunnel design car wash. And again, we've got fire sign off. We're going to make use of municipal water and sewer. The car wash is one of those high efficiency water recycling washes, just to make you aware of that. Again, we've got 2 entrances on the site. It's on the corner of Commerce Way and Carver Road. I'm going to show you an aerial shot. A picture's kind of worth 1,000 words. So, again, you all, I'm sure, are well familiar with the site. Got the Market Basket here, Route 44 running east-west here, and then, of course, Commerce Way heading up to Colony Place to the north direction. So here's the cleared site. Again, about 2.3 acres, a portion of which has an existing drainage swale. So this is the development pad, if you will. Again, existing conditions. You kind of saw the satellite image, but here we go. You can see on the topo there is that depressed area for drainage to the north of the site. And again, this site that's close to the corner, this is the portion that's proposed for development. So again, here's a colorized plan. This wasn't in your package. We pulled this together to give kind of a better visual aid. And incidentally, this also does supplement the landscaping, which was one of the West Plymouth Steering Committee's requests. So GPI can get into that, but you can get an idea for the layout here. And again, I won't belabor it because I know you've seen it in your plans, but just as an overview, you've got the fueling stations here, 6 pumps. You've got the traffic circulating through the site like this, some of which may go through the car wash, some of which may go through the drive-through for coffee, and then, of course, you've got parking around the site as well for the convenience store. You can see the 2 curb cuts here onto Commerce Way and onto Colony Place. And again, I'll let GPI walk you through that in more detail, but wanted to give you an overview. I can pull this up if GPI would like to kind of direct you through the plan. So again, going through, we've got grading, drainage plan. This is that original landscape plan. It's not colorized, so it's maybe not a great comparison, but I will scroll down. This is the new plan. So we did beef up the landscaping quite a bit in response to one of the concerns expressed by the West Plymouth Steering Committee. Let me see. Got some elevations here to show you. I don't know if these made into your packet. I think they did. I think they were part of the plan set that you received. So, again, this is what the Hafner's branded convenience store will look like when constructed. Got a couple elevations here. Again, don't want to spend too much time. I think one other thing that bears mentioning on this project is, not only is the use and the site permitted under that existing special permit. Again, we're back to satisfy that condition and show you the specific use that's proposed. But in 2013, the ZBA, and again, subject to advisory vote from this board, did approve a quite similar proposal, actually for a bit larger of a structure. It was a single structure, 6,800 square feet, that actually sprawled across the site a bit more and had tighter ingress and egress from the 2 streets that it abuts. But again, that was a similar project in the sense that it had the car wash, had the convenience store, and had all the fuel dispensers. So, again, I'm hoping that we're not breaking too much new ground between the existing special permit and the subsequent permitting history of the site. But that's the overview that I wanted to provide to you. And if I could, I'd like to turn it over to GPI. They're here on Zoom, and they can walk you through a little bit more about circulation of the site and speak through a couple of the West Plymouth Steering Committee comments that I'm sure you'd like to hear about. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. For the record, my name is Chris York. I'm with Freeman Peterson. Rob, can you bring up the old TEC plan, or should I just share it?
There it is. I can do that, and then I've got the overlay too, Chris. I don't know what you'd like to see.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, we can start with this one. So this was the plan TEC the town approved back in 2013 or 2015. So just to kind of compare our plan to their plan. So their plan, we've reduced the amount of impervious by about 4,000 square feet. Like I said, they had a 6,800 square foot building. We've got a 3,200 square foot convenience store and then a 2,800 square foot car wash, separate buildings. Some of the big changes to the plan, I think that makes our plan a lot better. Ultimately, is the pavement setback. So as you can see, the red is the original TEC plan. So we've got holding a 20-foot setback from pavement to the edge of the right-of-way. The old plan had 7 feet along Carver Road, so there wasn't a whole lot of green space along the perimeter of the property. Another concern on the old plan was cars coming up Commerce Way, turning right into the site in order to get into the drive-through. They almost had to do basically a U-turn, 180-degree turn to get into the drive-through. Excuse me. That's a tough turn. It would have been a tough turn. They wouldn't have been able to stay in their lane on site. It could have caused some issues out on Commerce Way with the car turning slowly into the site. Our design has a much more gradual entrance into the site. The drive-through is further into the site, so it gives the cars more room to be able to maneuver into the drive-through lanes for the car wash or for the convenience store. There, again, in the other main concern with the original plan was the drive-through, or the exit for the car wash dumped out right into the canopies. Not the safest design. Our car wash is down here, kind of out of sight from the rest of the site. Safe entrance and exit into the car wash. So just wanted to point out some changes to the plans. I think it's a better design than was originally approved. And I know that I went to the West Plymouth Steering Committee about a month ago. They definitely raised some concerns, and some of them were warranted. And I can go through a couple of them. So the landscaping, they brought up that they wanted some more landscaping shown, so we updated our plan. That is the colored plan that Rob showed you a few minutes ago. So along Commerce Way, there's existing street trees that will remain. We have added some, to our newest landscape plan, we've added some new kind of low growth shrub areas in between the trees to augment some of that landscaping. We added a second, we added some more kind of behind the existing crescent, the existing sign, the nice wall out here for the Cranberry Crescent entrance. We added some landscaping on our site behind the wall, as well as another kind of decorative tree. So in addition to what was already shown on the landscape plan, we got some, some of the interior islands are landscaped. We added some landscaping along Carver Way. So I think we did, I think this site is pretty well landscaped. We can certainly, take any more feedback from the planning board, but we definitely wanted to take the steering committee's concerns into effect and to add some more landscaping. And the other, their other main concern was the interior circulation, which I didn't disagree with ultimately. I mean, their concern was cars coming out of the drive-through. They were concerned with cars coming in from Carver Way, coming into the site, the possibility of, the cars kind of coming head on into each other. So we talked about this after the meeting the next day, and we definitely are willing to add some internal circulation signs. If a car coming in off of Carver Road, we want them to be able to go around the site, around the dispensers, around the perimeter of the site to get into the drive-through. We don't want cars coming into the site, coming straight into where the drive-through exit is, and that could cause an issue. So we're willing to put some signs up along in the property, some more paint markings just to direct traffic around the perimeter into the drive-through. I think that will alleviate a lot of the concerns for internal circulation. I can certainly go through the plans a little bit if you'd like, or I can just take questions afterwards, whatever works best for the board. Rob talked about the site a little bit, but I can go into more detail if you'd like. Or I can take questions afterwards.
Okay. To my understanding, this is an informal review, so there's not going to be any vote taken to send a report.
Yes, so what this is so in 2013, the Zoning Board of Appeals approved the overall development plan for Cranberry Crescent, which included the market basket, some of the banks that you've seen already that have been constructed. And when they approved the overall plan, and you saw the preliminary design that they said, okay, now when you come in with each component, we've seen 2 banks already, we've seen the market basket, we've seen the Marshall store. So each one of them have come back as an informal review, and the requirement was that they go to the steering committee and the planning board, and then the ZBA will look at this to determine if they meet the compliances of what they would consider adequate site plan. So the use and the proposed gas station was all approved in 2013. They're just back for an informal to the ZBA to say, here's our site plan, is this acceptable to you? So from our standpoint as staff level, when we started this, my big focus was looking at the footprint of what they're doing and the uses and making sure they're consistent with the use. I mean, immediately, since it's 2013 and I didn't remember, we were looking at that car wash, and that, in fact, is shown on that 2013 plan. So, again, this is just an informal review, a recommendation to the ZBA on what you think the acceptability of the site is. The use itself is approved. So the big thing that I think we see here, and when you look at the technical documents that come from DPW, is wanting to after this is operational, review the signalization, the traffic lights there, and making sure the timing's good. So there's very specific information in here and a requirement that will be built into this that after, I think it's probably usually 6 months, that they do study, look at the timing of those lights, and any adjustments that might have to happen, they'd be required to do. So the West Plymouth Steering Committee recommended not to, well, didn't support the proposal. They had some concerns, and again, you don't have it, but and if we could, there's the plan with the additional landscaping here. No, that was the
Oh,
one.
yeah, this is it, yeah.
So they have additional landscaping that they proposed that came in as we were talking about this over yesterday. I encouraged them to have that additional landscaping for tonight. So they've done that, and again, that the biggest issue was that traffic flow. Town engineer has a lot of comments and a lot of recommendations, and the biggest part is making sure that light and the signalization is not impacted, or at least improved maybe too, after looking at the traffic flow here. So again, just an informal review for site plan, and from a staff standpoint, we don't see anything. The big issue was the additional landscaping, which they have provided, so we find this acceptable.
Okay, before I bring it to the board, is there anybody in the audience here wishing to speak to this presentation this evening?
So we do have somebody on Zoom with her hand up, Pam.
Yes?
Hi, Pam Magnarelli, 9 Mariners Way, Sawyer's Reach. I just had a couple of questions. The West Plymouth Steering Committee, did they mention anything about the shortage of water in West Plymouth right now? Since 2013, when this was originally proposed, I'm guessing you said there was a car wash proposed for it, but since 2013, there has been many additional buildings built within Colony Place and Cranberry Crescent. Sawyer's Reach Development, Hanover at Colony Place, a new hotel, banks, Market Basket, etc. And since there is a water shortage in West Plymouth, I'm curious of what the quantity of the water that's going to be used for the car wash is, and why it's acceptable to use town water for that instead of requiring some kind of a pump, drilling of a well, or whether a car wash is still a good idea for this area. Thank you.
So
Thank
if
you.
I could first point out that the zoning board, zoning board, are only approving the site plan. DPW is not satisfied, or if they're not comfortable with giving water permits, this does not give them water permits. That's separate, so that would be a separate issue. And again, hopefully the applicant can speak a little bit to the water usage that's going to occur with the car wash.
Okay, so what we are looking at this evening is traffic flow, correct? And
Yeah.
the site plan only. We are not approving a gas station, a car wash.
They were already approved.
They were already approved.
And
Just to
and
make
again,
everybody clear, as far as when we get to asking questions, we're not going to be asking about gas tanks and storage. We're talking about the site plan.
Site plan.
Right.
And again, but I think the water issue is an important one, and hopefully.
Oh,
we
it
can
is,
get a couple-
absolutely.
some
I'm sure
answers
it's going to
that.
come up. Okay, so is there anybody else on Zoom
Looking to speak.
looking to speak?
Looks like we're good.
Okay, would you like to answer the question that was asked by the
Sure, yeah,
individual on Zoom, please?
Yep, and one other thing, while I've got the floor here, just to, Lee's not privy to this, because I think we just got a response about a half hour ago, but DPW and GPI have actually engaged, and DPW opined that they'd like the traffic study done before permitting. So again, we had asked them the question.
I'm
that-
sure that's going to come up.
Yeah, just so you know, we had asked them, hey, you want us to monitor post-construction and adjust the signal? And they said, no, we want the study done beforehand. So anyhow, Chris, do you want to speak to the water issue? I think that we spoke briefly, you and I, about that last week, but do you have the kind of latest and greatest? I think it was the water balance program that the petitioners participated in, is that right?
Yeah, it's called the Plymouth Water Balance Program. That's an application that we filled out and submitted, I believe back in the fall. I mean, it's a 10, 12-page application. Ultimately, it's, ultimately the developer will be paying a water balance mitigation fee. Ultimately is what this comes down to.
Okay.
I mean, the car wash itself, it's about 70% of the water is recirculated. So, I mean, because a good chunk of the water is just reused over and over again. That was part of the calculations that we submitted to the town as part of the water balance program application.
So if I could, the water balance program is a new thing that just started coming out from the DPW, where they're looking at these projects and want a balanced water, so that if they're using, I'll make a number up, 1,000 gallons a day, they have to provide a balance to deal with recouping that 1,000 some other way, either by reducing their usage here or providing some mitigation to the town that they can use to reduce usage somewhere else. So again, I'm not that familiar with it, but I'm hearing more and more that as these projects come in, the DPW is now looking at what can you do to balance your water so that there's no impact on the system.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring it to the board members now, in the interest of time. Carl, please.
All right, so I know this is going to come up for all of us, or just all of us. The concerns is the traffic flow on the site. So one of my questions is there any particular reason why you have two, the 2 lanes for the drive-through?
Well, so Rebecca, unless you or Chris wants to take it, I'm happy to take a stab at it.
So I can take a stab at it. So we have 1 lane for the drive-through for the convenience store, for the coffee shop. And right next to that is that's an access lane to get out. And then behind that, there's 2 lanes, 2 pay stations for the car wash. I mean, generally, we like to have as many pay stations as possible. That keeps the traffic within the site. If it's a busy day, we don't want cars backing up onto Commerce Way or onto any other street. So the purpose of that is to have two pay stations to keep the traffic within the site.
Okay. So on this plans, there's the lane for there's 2 lanes for the car wash, and then there's a lane that is just a access lane to get around the building, and then you have your lane for your coffee shop. Is that extra lane needed, or is that something?
I'm going to scroll up. Let's see. So Carl, which lane are you asking?
You got
this one here?
Yep, you got that one there. That one in the middle.
Yeah.
So to me, that looks like there's 2 lanes for the coffee shop.
Go to the landscaping one. Does it show the cars on the landscaping plan? No?
Let's see. I think that's a bypass lane, Carl, in case someone
There's
wants
all
to
the cars
get
stacked
around.
right there.
Just in case someone wants to get around and through without ordering a coffee. Just, if the line's too long or something, they could come through. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah, it just serves as a bypass lane in case someone needs to get out. It's the same idea with the car wash. Once you get through the pay stations, there's still an emergency exit right before you get to the car wash tunnel.
So we're not seeing an emergency exit from the car wash, and that was going to be my next question. So if I get stuck in those 2 lanes of the car wash, and then I decide I don't want to go in the car wash, where's my exit?
So I think, Carl, you could cut across this hash-marked area.
So that hash mark area? Okay.
Yep, that's a paved area. It's just painted lines. Yep, that is your way out.
All right. I just wanted to, okay. For me, I'm only speaking for me, that's everything on that left side with all the vehicles, it just looks busy.
We shouldn't have put so many vehicles on the plan.
Yeah, it just looks busy, and I could see how it could be some confusing, especially as you're coming into the property and also trying to leave the property. So I was just wondering if that extra lane was needed to maybe, to reduce confusion or reduce so many cars going into that area.
Yeah, I mean, speaking personally, I think it's hard to fathom that you're going to have as many vehicles in queue as illustrated on this plan. I mean, that's what, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Yeah,
about 14.
I'm in agreement with you, but if it was me and I was driving on, I have to make a quick decision, or I have to stop and slow down at that entrance to decide whether or not I'm going in the drive-through or whether or not I'm going into the car wash. Correct?
Yep, up at this entry point
Up
here.
at that
Yep,
entry point, right?
Correct, yep.
And since everyone else is coming in through that entry point, I have to stop, quickly recognize which two lanes I'm getting into, and then once I get in those two lanes, I have to quickly, as I come around, I have to quickly recognize whether or not I'm going around the building completely, or if I'm actually going to end up going to the drive-through. And in that small spirit of time and space. You know, you see where I'm going?
Yeah. No, I hear you. I think, and again, I guess the only response I can offer is that the window, the drive-through window is at the end of
Correct.
the circulation. So I guess I'd like to think that, the queuing would obviously fill this area first, and you'd have to really fill all those queued locations for it to become an issue, because otherwise, you would have the option, if the line appears to be too long as you round this corner, to go into the bypass lane, which is why that's provided.
And I get what you're saying, but I'm also saying that area has a lot of traffic, and there's going to be a lot of people using that area. So there could be a possibility that the line is wrapped back around to the other side, where if someone didn't want to get out of there, they wouldn't be able to.
Yeah. So yep. No, point taken. Whether it's markings or some other means, or you're concerned about kind of a jam at that entrance point.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because if you back up that entrance point, now you're going to back up the entrance coming in onto the property. That's my
Yep.
my logic behind it. If you understand.
No, I follow you, Mr. Donaldson. Yep.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
I understand. But I think, I think we could add more signage right there too. I think would help. Signs or more paint. Car wash right lane. Drive through left lane. A couple signs at that entrance. I think that helps as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Steve,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
thank you.
So we'll start with the statement you made about that was made. I want to stare at you, Mr. Ambrosio, and attribute language that is not coming from your mouth. But the statement was made about decreasing the amount of pervious space. But I'm looking at the two. I don't have that other plan in front of me, but yes, there are smaller buildings, but every inch of that space is paved. I don't think there's less permeous space there. I'm going to echo Mr. Donaldson's statements and go a little further. I'm having a real problem with the drive-through. Obviously not something that I can tell was originally contemplated based on the driving, on the patterns and the initial plan that was just presented, but I'm watching the entrance off of Commerce, and that's a hard right. That's a real steep turn coming in from there to decide to go into the car wash, and that's problematic enough. You then have, as you head out, where you're exiting the car wash onto Carver Road, in that area, you have exit from the car wash, entrance from otherwise, and entrance and exit as well from the pumps. That's a lot of stacking as well in one spot. My concern seems to be is that we've got a lot of combined areas of entrance and exit, whereas circulation with all of these things, I think, would be better served with exclusive exits and exclusive entrances. And I understand the problem, given that you don't have that opportunity really on Commerce Way because you're looking at a traffic island right across from it. So I hate to be the person to actually suggest more curb cuts, But that's really where I'm looking. I'm looking at the idea of saying, shouldn't there be either a dedicated or more dedicated entranceway to the car wash and or as well the drive-through, if we're going to keep a drive-through, and I have, again, still concerns with that. But I think that those need to enter from one place and exit from one place so you have that continuous circulation and you don't have that consistent crossing over with the pumps. I look across to Carver Road and I look at those parking spaces that you have there. And anyone parking there, I don't know where they're going, but wherever they're going, they're dodging a lot of traffic. That's a concern to me. As I look at almost every other convenience/fuel station, I look at parking immediately adjacent to the building, front and side, not all the way across on the other side of the pumps. And that's a concern for me, because I look at where these spaces are, and I look at where people are going to go, and I look at vehicles trying to turn both ways, because you'll have vehicles coming in through these pumps, some facing one direction, some facing another. I'm just really very uncomfortable with the circulation, and I understand the restrictions of the site, and I'm trying not to be overly critical as a result, but this, I apologize, this just doesn't work for me.
And I trust you did see the sidewalk, Mr. Bolton, and the crosswalks here. I mean, that's the intention anyway, whether it assuages your concern or not. That, the theory is crosswalk to sidewalk, crosswalk to another concrete sidewalk for the convenience store.
Sure, and if someone is parked in those spaces across, right next, almost adjacent to the pumps, closer to the corner of Carver and Commerce, they are not walking down to those crosswalks. I appreciate the goal of directing people for traffic purposes. And I also recognize the reality of people not following directions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So this is sort of that worst case scenario planning, if you will, of what happens if. Right. And so I'm trying to see in my head other ways of creating circulation to limit those types of traffic crossover, the traffic crossover between car wash, drive-through, pumps, and then parking for people using what I'm assuming as I look as a true convenience store / coffee shop. Obviously, that's the nature now of fuel stations. They are including almost mini supermarket style, and that's a value and a convenience for the community. So I don't want to dissuade that, but at the same time, I want to make it as safe as and appropriate for the area as possible. So I'm really sort of I think this one needs to go back a little bit more to the drawing board. This is not something that I think we can sit here and redesign on the fly. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. And I'm going to go to David, please.
Let's make sure we have Rosemary have her take as well.
Yes, David, you are next. Thank you. Okay. I'm aware of that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I will say, Carl mentioned what was going to be my first point, which was basically, there's a 4-lane highway behind the building, and that looks, that's biting into the circulation of the rest of the site. And Steve correctly pointed out all the crisscrossing and you can just imagine there's probably 10 scenarios of someone coming in for Carver Road and trying to get all the way across the site or vice versa. So that is a problem. I tend to try, and then it was reinforced by the West Plymouth Steering Committee, noting that they're asking for 24-foot lanes and not 25 feet, which is our minimum, and it just emphasizes that, it should be 30 feet. I mean, there's so much crisscrossing there, that doesn't work. So, in addition, the reference to data, some of the data on which the planning is based is 15 years old. And some of the calculations of queuing are from Kansas City and Minnesota, also from 2011 or 2012. So I'm personally not convinced you need a double lane for getting into the car wash. Understand the bypass on the coffee, but the site's just plain too tight, 12 pounds in a 10-pound bag. Other issues that aren't there are snow. Where's the snow going to go? No place to put bikes, and right across the way there's a dedicated bike lane, kind of behind Market Basket and so on. So there will be bikes, no place to put bikes. I worried about the clearance underneath the canopy, but looking at the drawings, it looks like it's 15 feet, so that should be fine, both for the fire department and oil deliveries. And then on the water, correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, the banks and 3 or 4 of the projects there each had to commit to a private well if no water was available. Is that recommendation now changing?
Yeah, I think it's being revisited. Again, I think they're focusing more on this water balance concept than it is to say that it's an absolute no for anything.
So that should be folded into any recommendation.
Well, again, DPW gives you all their comments, and
Yeah.
they'll address, and separate of whatever the ZBA does, the water hookup is up to the DPW and the water commissioner, so the ZBA is really not weighing into that at all. It's the responsibility of DPW.
So because I like to, if I can, solve problems as well as kind of point them out, but, could the retaining wall move a couple of feet toward the drainage swale? Because the site is currently just plain too tight for what's going on. Period. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Rosemarie, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is the proposed freestanding sign, is that for where it says drive-through and car wash, where it's painted on the asphalt, or is that something different?
I'm sorry,
I'm looking
Rosemary.
at this one, Rob.
Is it on one of the
The
elevations?
landscape plan.
The landscape.
Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back. Okay, so, I'm sorry, which sign are you looking at?
So kind of it right in the middle, on the top,
Mm-hmm.
on the asphalt.
North of the plan view, where you're up top, in the middle.
Up top, in the
Right
middle.
there.
Where
Yep.
it's painted on the asphalt, I'm assuming, or stenciled or whatever. Drive-through car wash.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, the lettering here, yes, that would be
Okay.
a painted marking on the
Right
pavement.
above it, I believe it says proposed freestanding sign. What is the proposed freestanding sign?
Yeah, so I think we've got some signage
pylons,
references in the, in that zoning table above. Wish I had my glasses now, but I do see your.
Yeah, Rob, at the end of the site plan set, we show the signage.
Yeah, so I don't know if I grabbed that one. If you want to share your screen, Chris, you could. If you
Yeah.
could dig it up. I didn't want to put all 22 sheets onto the
Yeah.
PowerPoint.
See if I can,
Not helping this.
see if I can.
Site's too crowded.
Yeah, I think Chris is going to pull it up, Rosemarie, so we could take a look here.
Let me see if I can find it.
My concern is the drive-through and the car wash stenciled or painted on the asphalt. With time, weather, those are gonna disappear. So how are people going to know?
Yeah.
No, those will we'll repaint those as they fade.
Yeah, I think the petitioner has as much of an interest in clear signage as anyone else, so I'm sure they'd stay on top of that.
Overhanging?
Pardon?
Overhanging?
No, they're gonna, the freestanding sign is gonna be signage for the overall facility. The drive-through car wash will be a painted stencil on the pavement. So that'll get repainted as it wears.
Okay. And unless I missed it, where is the trash?
The
Or
dumpster
or
dumpster
the
enclosure.
fenced-in area?
They have it in a fenced area.
They have it in, okay.
Yep. Yep, it's kind of near the car wash there on the kind of western edge of the site there. I didn't do anything. I think Chris was trying to
All right,
show this.
is it my turn now?
Thank you, Rob, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Ms. Berry.
Thank you, Rosemary. Outstanding. Now, I have some comments and questions. Okay? I think I heard you mention it. This definitely needs an independent traffic study
Yes.
for this site, because I would go even further to say, David had mentioned 12 pounds in 10-pound bag. I'm going to say 20 into a 10-pound bag. The traffic flows here is, what I'm looking at, I don't believe they're going to be sufficient at all. And I'd also like to see on a plan a fire engine apparatus traversing through this site.
Yeah, so we
I
do
don't
have.
know, I'm going to go right through my questions. I'm trying to save time. You can answer all of them when I'm completed, please. All right? Fire apparatus and the flow throughout the site. The drive-through, I'm assuming that's going to be either, I don't want to advertise for anybody, is that going to be a Dunkin' Donuts? There happens to be a Dunkin' Donuts up at the car wash that's further down toward PA Landers. And they also have a car wash there at that site with bays and parking and exiting that site. So that site might be an example to look at as far as size-wise go. If that site, have we had any complaints about getting in and out of that site, any traffic incidents at that site, to look at the same basic scenario we're looking at here, minus an additional business. I don't know what these businesses are going to be, the convenience store and a drive-through and a proposed something else maybe, I don't know. There's too much traffic on this site. I don't think it's safe. It's confusing to me. Snow storage, the width of the access aisles, as Mr. Peck brought up. What is the width of that double drive-through? The numbers are really small. Look at that, 10 feet and 12 feet I'm looking at? The double cars running through the site.
22 feet.
Yeah, 10 and 12.
10 and 12, yeah.
Right?
Correct.
And what are the width of the parking spots, even though there is not enough of them closest enough to the building? Because you know, and I will say exactly what Mr. Bolton had brought up, if I'm parking out there, I am not walking all the way over to the crosswalk out onto Commerce Way to come across, and then across another crosswalk to get to the convenience store. And currently, there is only 5 parking spots with one handicapped spot, unless that blue car is in a handicapped spot. I'm not sure what your requirements would be. I would think it would be a van accessible spot and a regular passenger spot at a bare minimum up close to the building. So this initial, since this is supposed to be an informal discussion, this initial plan doesn't work for me for what I'm looking at. And I would seriously take into consideration all the comments that you've received from the steering committee that reviewed it, which there is quite a list. So, to me, it needs some work, in my opinion. So, but that's me. Would you like to answer any of those questions or comments I made, sir?
I don't know where to begin with this warm embrace. Yeah, look, we in all seriousness, we appreciate your feedback. That's why we're here, and we actually, being transparent here, when deliberating with my client, we kind of said, all right, we've got a few things to work on here. Should we wait for the traffic study? Should we go ahead? I said, look, if we're totally unprepared, we don't want to waste anyone's time. But I said, I think I used the word God forbid, the planning board really has significant concerns about the layout and the project as a whole, we'd rather find out sooner than later. For instance, if we have to reconfigure this thing or eliminate one of the features, that is going to alter our traffic study. So, we appreciate the feedback. That's why we're here. What I'm hearing is we need to take another good look at this. So, I would suggest, and I don't know if Mike Tierney's on, I can't see who's on the Zoom, but, I would suggest, without having the benefit of being able to caucus with my client, that we kind of shelve this and come back with something different rather than bring it to a vote, because I can, I understand the reservations, and I think it would behoove us and everyone to take a good hard look and come back to you guys before we go to the ZBA.
Okay, well, I'd also, David had mentioned it, if you could expand the site some more. I don't know if you're able to do it, but again, 20 pounds into a 10-pound bag.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Mr. Chairman, despite...
More than 10.
Yeah.
More than 10.
Yeah, we do, fire department was okay. We gave them the apparatus circulation plan. At least we've got that going for us, but, just to address that one item.
Okay. You got a lot more than that going for you, believe me.
Thank you.
All right, so there is, what you're suggesting is to shelve this, and you'll come back with something.
Yeah, we're informally, procedurally. Can we just pull it and resubmit? We don't need
Yeah,
to...
so there's nothing that needs to be done. We'll just coordinate with the ZBA to take it off their agenda until such time as it's ready. It's
Okay.
not advertised or any such thing.
I think I can speak for all the board members. I can't speak exactly for them, that we appreciate you looking at doing something different, making the flows work, making it safe.
Yep.
We want you to be prosperous, but we want it safe in the process also.
No, we want a good project for everyone in the town and everyone who's involved. Yep.
Absolutely. And thank you for the presentation this evening, seriously.
Okay. Yep. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the time.
Okay. All right, well, is there any topics or anything that can come before us from other board members, if there's anything? Yes, please.
I know it was listed as being part of our next potential meeting as the master plan update, the monthly master plan update, but I also said I would provide updates as there's things to report. So the thing to report is the town has entered into a contract with Stantec as the lead consultant, along with several other consultants under them, to serve as our consultant and ultimate drafter for final approval by this body of the next master plan for the town of Plymouth. With respect to Stantec, the master plan committee's overall assessment was that they made the best presentation, had the deepest bench in terms of the types of consultants doing the types of specialized work that are most important to the town, particularly with respect to our aquifer protection, water use, our economic development, and overall land use planning. There were several other consultants who were very good and very close. It was not a case of one was far and away better than the others, but rather a series of little things that just overall put this particular consultant in the lead. On a personal note, I can say they were also somewhat creative in a lot of things. For example, something that none of us had thought of was they actually budgeted as part of their proposal for daycare for one or two of the public sessions so that people with children could actually come, have someone watch their children while they participated in providing their thoughts to the town, which we all thought was a particularly novel approach and something to be commended. So there is an anticipated kickoff that will be in June. More details on that to come, but the master plan committee now is ready to sit down and get to work, working with our consultant, and look forward to providing reports to all of you and participating with all of you in many of the public forums to come. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. I'll entertain a motion. If anyone has anything else, though, first? No?
Motion to adjourn, please.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Have a great evening. The planning board meeting for this evening is now adjourned.